When my husband and I first moved abroad a little over 6 years ago, I was under the impression that America was the greatest country in the world. I was also born and raised a Texan, so that kind of makes sense. But as we started living abroad longer, I started to realize that I was really wrong. America wasn't the greatest country in the world. America has some really incredible qualities, freedoms, and opportunities that I am always grateful for. And actually, the longer I'm away, the more I realize just how up it is. And I think after listening to these 13 reasons of why I don't want to move back to America, I think you're gonna agree. Before we get started with my 13 reasons, subscribe to the channel, like the video, and if you do like it, share it on your own social media. Okay, let's get started. So I wrote on your first order of business, acknowledge jacket. Hey, you wore that in the last video. You're a repeat offender. Guilty. But when it looks like this, it would be a shame not to wear it in every video. And when you tell me things like, damn girl, you look fierce in that, or you look like a rapper, of course I'm gonna wear it again. So guilty as charged, wearing it again. The first reason why I don't want to move back to America, number one, safety. Safety. I do not feel safe as a woman in America. I don't feel safe when I walk to my car late at night. I don't feel safe when I use public transportation late at night by myself. I just don't feel safe anywhere I go in America. I think a lot of people who haven't traveled abroad, I think they have this unnecessary fear of other countries that maybe it won't be as safe as what they know of their daily life. But the reality of it is that there are many other countries like South Korea that are much, much safer than America. How many of you guys watching this video right now have mace or carry like one of those long like mag lights in your car? How many of you have something to protect you in the event of getting robbed or God knows what? I know I did in America. How absurd is it that when you go out in public, you have to keep a really close eye on your child so that they don't get abducted? Like, what the f? What I love in particular about being in Korea is that I feel so incredibly safe. And I will say this too, is that you should never anywhere in the world just let your guard down fully. That's stupid. So you always need to maintain, I think, a good level of caution and be aware of your surroundings. But in Korea, for the most part, I feel so safe. I've given this example a lot, but I'm going to say it again. My husband and I, when we go to coffee shops, we have our iPhones and our wallets. When we have to go to the bathroom, we just leave it all on the table. We leave it all, we go to the bathroom, we come back, it's still there. Nobody has bothered to touch it. Maybe it's out of fear of CCTV because it's watching you everywhere here, I don't know. But just the fact that we can leave those things on the table and it will be okay. I was at a coffee shop by our house on a Saturday afternoon and I saw, this is not a lie, I saw a fat Louis Vuitton wallet. So much cash you could see in there just sitting on the table. Everybody kept walking past it, looking at it. Not one person touched it. It was there for over an hour just sitting on the table, so easy for someone to swipe, and no one did. In America, that would be gone in a second. I remember when I worked at Starbucks in Portland, Oregon, we would have computer thieves that would just open the door of our coffee shop, come in, swipe whatever computer someone was actually typing on. They do it super fast, swipe the computer, run out, they're gone. Like, what? So safety, and insert any more other reasons why you don't feel safe or you have to be overly cautious in America here. And speaking of safety, I think it's deserving of its own number because of just how common, unfortunately, this has become in America. Guns. I think this should just be common sense. It is not okay to accept gun violence as a normal occurrence. It is not okay for a mom to send her child to school and have to wonder if there's going to be a mass shooting. It's not okay to go to a movie theater or a mall or any shopping center or any enclosed area, college, school, you name it. It's not okay to go there and have to be checking the safety exits and to wonder if there could be the next mass shooting when you're there. There were 417 mass killings in 2019. That's more shootings than there are days in the year. Since Sandy Hook, one of the most disgusting of mass shootings in America, there have been 2,397 mass killings. As of the end of February, which is last month, In America, we already saw 55 mass shootings that killed 4 or more people. Before I decided to move down to Southern California, I was working as a barista at a Starbucks in Lloyd Center Mall in Portland, Oregon. Right before I made the jump to move down to California, what was a big decision maker for me was that within like this short period of time at my mall, there were 2 shootings. One where we had to like go on lockdown, just fucking scary. They were at the other end of the mall, so they weren't right near us, but they were still in the same mall area that I was working at. And the biggest one, every day I worked the same hours and I took the same bus home every day. One day, one of my coworkers asked if they could switch shifts with me. I did it. Thank God I did, because that same day at the time I was supposed to be at the bus stop, there was a shooting and a few people died. Let's do something a little bit lighter. So reason number 3 that I don't want to move back to America, facials. How can I not include this when I live in South Korea? Do you know how expensive it is to get a facial or get like any type of lasers in America? It's ridiculous. If you want to get Fraxel laser on your face because maybe you had like really terrible acne growing up, I know I did, and you want to heal your face because we want to have nice skin. It could cost you $1,000 each time you go. It could cost you $3,000 each time you go. I can go to a clinic in Gangnam and I can get Fraxel laser for 70,000 won, which is maybe like $65. What? It's so cheap. Any of those like luxury services, when I think about moving to America, I think those are gonna have to go for me because I can't afford to go do those things all the time. When here, I could go to Gangnam and I'm just like paying 30 bucks. Or maybe if I wanna get like the top of the line facial, I'll pay like 200,000 won. And usually those are like packages. You can get more than one service with those. I just wanted to throw this one in here because it is something that I would not look forward to if I go back to America. Number 4, cars. Oh, cars. First of all, it's almost impossible to not have to own a car in America unless you're in the major big cities. Using public transportation is not really an option. You have to drive everywhere, and I hate being in a car for a long period of time. America's just so big, you have to drive everywhere. And then you have the expense to maintain your car. I feel like the cost of owning a car is just never ending. You have to factor in gas and car insurance and titles and property tax and sales tax and blah, blah, blah. It just gets so expensive to have a car there. And public transportation is not really an option unless you live in one of the major big cities. Which brings me to reason number 5, which is public transportation. Even when you have this public transportation in these big cities, or maybe you're not in a big city, but you still have some public transportation, usually it's pretty sketchy. There was an article on Business Insider recently that compared someone's experience to using the subway here in Seoul versus the one in New York City, and she was basically just blown away with how good the Seoul subway was versus what the New York City subway is like. And then it can just be really expensive. I'm used to just paying pennies here, and I don't think I could ever get used to having to pay so much to get a taxi or take an Uber in America. Like basically Korea's just ruining me with their super cheap $1 subway rides and $3 taxi rides. I'm ruined. Reason number 6. Why do I have to tip to get good service at a restaurant? If you go to Bali, you have the most incredible service, the most incredible food, and you don't tip. Just pay your workers the wage they deserve in the first place. Here, we get really good, fast service, and it's super cheap, and we don't have to tip. It's amazing. Number 7, overpriced consumer goods. Everything is just so expensive in America, and you don't realize it until you get out of America and you realize that things don't actually have to cost that much. For example, skincare. In Korea, skincare is affordable for everyone. There are higher end skincare brands. There's also a lot of mid-range brands that are like Walmart prices, but they're available for everyone, and they're not like shit products either. They're high quality products that everyone uses here. It's genius. Who would have thought that you could sell a product that your consumers could actually afford? Why do I need to pay $50 for facial cream when it's not even as good as the $20 facial cream that I could buy here in Korea? I just don't get it. Even clothes, and usually the price that they charge for things, it just doesn't match the quality. Even something silly like, not silly, but eyeglasses. Easily pay $300 to $400 for a pair of glasses if you go to the eyeglass man, whatever they're called. And in Korea, you can buy them for like literally, you could buy a pair of glasses here for $20. They're so cheap, and you could get them made that same day. Even things like cosmetics or eating out, they're all just so expensive in America, and you name it. I'm sure you know what is overpriced there better than I do. And on the subject of things being overpriced, rent. Oh my God. Especially considering the quality of the apartment that you get. They're not like new and modern and renovated places to live. If you're single, you're probably sharing it with roommates because you can't afford to rent a place by yourself. I don't want to have to pay like $2,000 a month to have a shitty house. Living in Korea has really changed it for me. I didn't know that I could have such an affordable rent with having such a good quality of apartment as well. If you don't know what I'm talking about, check out my playlist of all the apartment tours that we've gone on in Korea. I include the prices with most of the tours, and I guarantee it, you will be blown away with how affordable rent is here and how nice of apartments you get for such a cheap price. Apartments, I just love apartments in South Korea. They're just so good. Number 9, this one really hits close to home. This one just makes me sick. Higher education costs and job availability. Once you get out of college with your 4-year degree in America that you paid a shit ton of money for, the chances are you're not gonna find a really good job right away. At least I know that my year of graduating class, we didn't. And then let's just talk about the amount of student loan payments that we have to make every month to pay off our education that probably didn't help us find a really good job. It's just such a burden to your life and your happiness. I know, because I've been struggling to pay off my student loans for a long time now, and I still have longer to go. My friends here don't understand when I tell them I've got to send like half of my paycheck to the American government every month so I can pay off my student loans. They're just like mind blown, like, what? Why do you have to pay so much to go to school? I don't know. And number 10, let's talk about the poor education. Public schools in America are absolute shit. What do you learn in public school in America? Nothing. And then on top of that, you also have to worry about mass shootings in schools, which, it's just, I can't. And 11, moving on to other financial burdens that shouldn't be financial burdens in your life. Healthcare. You can blame it on the government, you can blame it on greedy insurance companies. I don't know who we should blame for this, but health insurance prices in America are not affordable. And then whenever you get that healthcare plan, it may not even cover what you actually need it to cover. And then you have the co-pays and all these like endless payments that you have to make. And then once you actually get in to see the doctor or you have to stay in the hospital, the level of care that you get just doesn't match up for the price that you pay. And to further explain this point, let me just tell you a few things about Korean healthcare. I have the most basic national health insurance plan that there is. I pay $120 a month total. And usually your employer matches half of that, so you only pay like 60,000 won out of pocket. There are doctor's offices everywhere in Korea. You can just walk into those without an appointment. And most often, with the most basic level of health insurance, you'll pay like $3 to go to the doctor. Maybe 16,000 won if it's like something more advanced and you need to get extra care. And then if you get a prescription, it might be 3,000 won or 16,000 won. And there's no hidden fees around that. You go in, you pay it, and you're done. And even without health insurance here, it's still much cheaper. I had to go to a walk-in appointment for a back problem I had to get an x-ray, and then I had an hour and a half of physical therapy, and then I had a prescription on top of that. I walked out of the hospital paying 125,000 won for all of that without insurance. I went to the ER because I hit my head. I had to get an emergency CT scan. That CT scan with my insurance cost me 75,000 won with insurance. That was all that I paid. And that also included a prescription with that. When you get hurt, you shouldn't have to make that decision of, can I afford to go see a doctor right now? Number 12. What I'm trying to say here is that overall, it's just really not affordable to live in America. You shouldn't have to live in a place where most of your paycheck goes just towards living in that country. You work hard. You should be able to go enjoy spending your time and your money with your friends and family. You shouldn't have to be just, pinching pennies every month just so that you can pay off your student loans and your car payment and your rent and blah, 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 blah. That shouldn't have to be an issue. And that's one of the things that keeps us living abroad, is that life is so much more affordable for us here, and we can still pay for our rent and our student loans and still have money left over every month. And we're not ballers. Like, I know I have this leopard print jacket on, but we're not ballers. And number 13, Wi-Fi. It annoys me so much when I go back to America and I can't get Wi-Fi everywhere. At my parents' house in Texas, their Wi-Fi is absolutely terrible. When I would try to upload a YouTube video, it would take me like 8 or 10 hours. Here, it takes me like 5 minutes or less. We lived in this tiny town in Southern California where there was not enough Wi-Fi to go around. Like, we had to wait for someone to move out of the city so that then we could take on their Wi-Fi contract. Like, what? I know that like America's big, so it's harder to like, get Wi-Fi out everywhere. I guess I'm just spoiled living here and traveling throughout Asia that these countries are smaller, so it's easier to have Wi-Fi for the whole country. But I love that I can go hiking in Korea, and no joke, we went hiking on an island down south and we hiked the tallest mountain in South Korea. Very strong Wi-Fi signal on top of that mountain. There's fast Wi-Fi and it's super cheap. That's it. Those are my 13 reasons of why I don't want to move back to America. If you have any of your own reasons to add to the list, leave it in the comment section down below. Subscribe to the channel, like the video, and if you do like the video, share it around. Bye!